if I say no to that call, what occurs?
Here's my belief about callings. They don't go away because we ignore them. This is a search party. They're not going to retire just because we give up. The longer we ignore them, the more we turn up the volume on them, and they continue to, and they will continue to come and try to pop into consciousness to the last possible moment of life, I think. So ignoring them is not only something I don't think you can do with impunity, you know, but I think that the calls don't go away.
But we can't ignore them.
Sure.
And say something about how the clock can run out.
Yes. Oh, sure. You can simply run out of time. Unfortunately, my father was a good example of that. And late in his life, he actually said to me, when the brass ring comes around in life, kiddo was a phrase he only used when he was imparting parental advice. When the brass ring comes around in life, kiddo, you better grab it, because it may not come around again. And I understood at that point what he was saying, is that he blew it. He was a businessman who should have been a scientist, and he went into the business that my family has been into for 100 years, and left his science in the laboratory in the basement, where it literally never saw the light of day for all the time that he was doing it, and he simply ran out of time. So I've got a strong role model in the back of my mind that says, you can run out of time, and then it becomes too late.
Reminds me of the famous Thoreau quote, most men live lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with a song still in them.
Right. Right. That's really tragic and true.
Very tragic.
Yeah.
So
he also said, the massive men lead lives of quiet desperation, but it is a characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things. That's the other half of that quote. It is a characteristic of wisdom not to do desperate things, or to get yourself into a position where you're so terribly desperate.
1997, you wrote The Callings. What have you learned, what since 1997, that has really added significantly to your understanding about the kinds of issues we're talking about now?
I think more than ever, since I took the book out on the road and became a teacher, really, I have a much deeper appreciation than I have ever had for what people are up against in making it happen, in following calls. I did interview 60 or 70 people for the book. I have lived out my own calls in excruciating detail, you know, and taken copious field notes about what's involved in it. And in a sense, it's almost academic compared to what I've learned in the 12 years since the book came out, actually taking it on the road and hearing so many people's stories and working with them, really flying in under the radar with people and exploring what's involved in bringing these things to fruition in mortal life. And I'm deeply humbled compared to when I started. I have a deeper appreciation for what it is and we, with the work that we do in the world, you and I, what we're asking people to do by following their passions. It is deep, juicy, challenging, in some sense life-threatening. You know what I'm saying? Not on a physical sense, but the life to which people have become accustomed is threatened by what the deeper calls offer.
It's extraordinarily disruptive.
Yes. Good word.
And in fact, you can see a great deal of discomfort at times. It's easier to leave it alone, isn't it?
Yes, in some ways.
Even though it keeps, as you say, it will never go away. It continues to nag and tug at your heart, soul,
spirit.
But it's very fearful to look it in the face.
Yes, it is. And it's fearful to, and this may be one of the reasons why people love that Marianne Williamson quote about not hiding your light under a bushel. You know, who are we to hide our power? I think this is one of the reasons that quote speaks to so many people, is this notion that we were put here on this earth in part to express ourselves as fully as possible. And I think people are terrified of being judged for it, failing at it, being rejected for it. The whole kind of upbringing, the messages a lot of us got from parents and teachers and ministers, pastors, maybe even gender, the society at large that says you're rewarded for conformity, you are punished for nonconformity. So sit still, sit up straight, straighten your tie, get to work, be a good boy, be a good girl, behave yourself. And so all these forces that constrict our power and our beauty and our love and compassion are constricted. And I think a part of us just wants to blow the top off.
Gregg, of course, I think it's a very natural question to ask someone to respond. Are you walking the talk? The very simple way of saying it.
Absolutely.
Have you found your calling, and what is that like? What is it like?
Well, again, I have multiple calls. So if we're talking about the work arena, I absolutely have found mine in the sense of finding. And this is, I'm quoting a theologian by the name of Frederick Buchner, who said, find the place where your deep gladness meets the world's deep hunger. So where your deep passion and joy intersects with the place where the world is in need of service. In that sense, I've definitely found my calling, as well as the sense of a match between who I am and what I do. You know what I'm saying? This is perfect work for somebody with my personality and my set of skills. To be doing writing and to be doing teaching and to be asking a million questions. I mean, I came from a family that tended to keep a lot of secrets, so I majored in communications. Right? It's perfect. I get to pay the rent by asking the kind of questions that nobody would answer when I was growing up. So yes, there's a great match vocationally. I have also answered many lifestyle callings to move from the city to the country some years back. That was a big one for me, as well as service calls and a few moral calls. I'm not perfect at it.
How important is this topic?
Of callings? Well, you're asking me. I think it's profoundly important. But I also, obviously more humbly speaking, I think it's critical. I think it's one of the things that keeps people up at night in their lives, that makes them wonder if they're living right. Am I expressing what's in here? Am I acting on the gifts that I was given, or am I going to, as you put it earlier, take it to the grave? And I think it's important just in the sense that this is one of the deepest motivating forces for people is, am I doing what I feel that I was put here to do? That question.
I couldn't agree more. That's wonderfully said. Now, Gregg, you're obviously, you have lots of interesting things to say. I'm sure there are going to be people that watch this that would like to get in touch with you. You do lots of speaking, you do teaching seminars and so forth. If they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, I suppose world headquarters for me anymore is the website. So GreggLevoy.com, GreggLevoy.com.
Great.
That's the simplest.
That's great. Well, I want to say thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation, our dialogue this afternoon. I want to tell folks if they want to buy your book, of course you can get it in any bookstore, you can get it on Amazon and so forth. There's a link right below this video. If they want to click on that and purchase the book, they'll go right to Amazon and be able to purchase it there. And again, I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much.